Have you ever felt your entire peace unravel from a single careless word? One glance, one tone, one interruption, and suddenly you're no longer present. You're in your head, replaying, defending, preparing comebacks you'll never use. It's as if someone reached inside and stole your calm without even touching you. Why does this happen? And more importantly, how do we stop it? The Stoics believed that anger is not caused by others, but by our own untrained reactions. They taught that freedom begins not with controlling the world, but with mastering our response to it. That silence can be strength, that stillness can be power. In this video, we'll explore timeless Stoic strategies that help you step out of the storm, reclaim your inner ground, and respond with clarity when chaos tries to pull you in. This isn't about suppressing emotion, it's about transforming it into wisdom, into presence, into peace. So if you've ever felt like a prisoner of your temper, you're not alone, but you're not stuck either. Stay with me, let's explore how stillness can become your strongest weapon. 1. Reframe anger as a habit, not a truth. You were not born angry. You did not enter this world slamming doors, raising your voice in traffic, or replaying every offense in your mind like a broken record. That reaction you now call just how I am was never your nature. It was trained into you, slowly, silently, over years of pressure, of stress, of being told that to be a man is to be reactive, loud, and forceful. But the Stoics taught us otherwise. They believed that real strength is not in the noise. It is in the restraint. That the man who does not respond to insult is not weak. He is powerful in a way few understand. Anger is not just an emotion. It is a pattern, a reflex that repeats only because it is fed. A fire that burns because you keep adding fuel. But like any habit, it can be broken. And it must be, because when you are ruled by anger, you are not in control of your life. You are a slave to every disrespect, every slight, every inconvenience. Epictetus said, "Any person capable of anger is a slave to it." That is not a metaphor. That is a mirror. When you react without thought, you give your power away. You hand it to the driver who cut you off. You give it to the rude comment from your boss. You surrender it to a moment you will not even remember a week from now. Imagine this. You are standing in line at the DMV. You have been waiting for an hour. It is hot, loud, slow. Suddenly, someone walks right in front of you, ignoring the entire line. Your chest tightens. Your jaw clenches. The instinct rises like a storm. You are ready to snap. But stop. Right there, in that rising flame, you are at the edge of two roads. One leads to the same old response, the same release that leaves you drained and ashamed. The other road leads to a man you have not fully met yet, the man who pauses, who breathes, who remembers that every reaction is a choice. That moment is the real test. Not in a gym, not in a fight, not in front of a crowd. The real test is in that breath you take when you are about to explode. Can you hold it? Can you examine it? Can you say to yourself, this anger is familiar, but it is not useful? Because truthfully, what has anger ever solved? When has it brought clarity or connection? You have followed that fire before. You have shouted. You have slammed doors. And when it was over, what were you left with? Guilt, regret, distance, exhaustion. Anger promises power, but always delivers pain. This is where the wisdom of the Stoics becomes your shield. They did not ask you to bury your emotions. They asked you to master them, to see them as signals, not commands. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That means when someone offends you, you are not obligated to retaliate. When life frustrates you, you are not required to scream. You can acknowledge the anger, thank it for showing up, then let it pass, like a cloud drifting by, like wind through your coat. You do not fight it, you simply do not follow it. The world today tells men that silence in the face of provocation is weakness, that if you do not bark back, you are soft, that if you do not match the energy of your enemy, you lose. But the truth is this: anyone can explode. That takes no skill, no discipline. What is rare, what is admirable, is the man who stays still when everything around him shakes. The man who speaks with calm when spoken to with venom. The man who walks away not out of fear, but because he refuses to be owned by something so small. Let's say your partner says something that stings. Not just sharp, but below the belt. It hits you hard. In that moment, you want to fight back. You want to defend your ego, but instead, you take a breath. You hold your tongue. You say nothing, not because you are afraid, but because you know that peace is your strength now, and tomorrow, when the dust has settled, you can speak clearly, calmly, from intention, not impulse. That is Stoicism in action. So what happens the next time someone disrespects you? You do not react. You respond. You do not flinch. You stand tall. You breathe deep and remind yourself, this anger is not who I am. It is who I used to be. And then you walk away, not in defeat, but in command, because you are no longer here to be provoked. You are here to master yourself. And mastery begins not with controlling the world, but with controlling how you meet it. So the next time your chest burns, your fists tighten, and your voice wants to rise, pause, breathe, step back, and choose to be the calm in the storm. Because the man who owns himself owns everything. 2. Control yourself instead of trying to control others. It takes no strength to explode. It is easy to raise your voice, throw a verbal jab, slam a door, or storm out of the room when pride is wounded. Most men call this power. They lash out, hoping to reclaim control, to prove something. But the truth is, that kind of power is hollow. It burns bright for a moment, then vanishes, leaving behind regret, exhaustion, and a sense that you gave something away. Because you did. You gave away your composure. You gave away your clarity. And in that moment, you became a servant to your anger. Real strength, the kind that lasts, does not come from overpowering others. It comes from mastering yourself when everything inside you wants to lose control. That is the Stoic way. The ancient philosophers knew what many men today still struggle to understand. Anger is not proof of power. It is proof of vulnerability. It shows that your peace can be taken, that your dignity hangs on the behavior of others. And if someone else can pull you out of character, then they own you. Anger whispers lies. It says that if you do not fight back immediately, you are weak. That if someone disrespects you, you must respond twice as loud. That if you are silent, you have lost. But think honestly. How many times has anger brought you a result you truly valued? You may have won the argument, but did you win peace? You may have defended your pride, but did you protect your energy? Most likely, you left the situation drained, replaying every word, still unsettled. Because deep down, you know you were reacting, not responding. And reaction without discipline is not strength. It is instability in disguise. Now picture this. You are in a meeting. Your manager, without cause, criticizes your idea in front of everyone. The tone is dismissive. The intent feels personal. You feel the pressure rising inside. Every part of you wants to respond sharply, to stand up, to fire back and reclaim your voice. But something within you holds. A deeper voice says, not now, not like this. So instead, you breathe. You keep your posture. You say, thanks for the feedback. I'll revisit it. And you move on. That is not weakness. That is power most people never master. Later, in private, you speak again. This time with clarity, with presence, with control. That is how men of strength move. not in outbursts, but in precision. That is what the Stoics taught. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men to ever live, reminded himself daily that true power lies not in controlling the world, but in controlling the mind. You have power over your mind, he said, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The Stoics rejected the idea that pride should drive your behavior. They understood that the moment your emotions own you, you lose your ability to act with wisdom. Trying to change others, trying to force respect, trying to make someone else behave differently, that is a battle you cannot win. But you can win with yourself. You can choose your words. You can choose your silence. You can choose your posture. And in that choice, you rise above the situation rather than sink into it. The mistake many men make is believing that to walk away is to lose, that to stay quiet is to submit. But reflect for a moment. Think back to the last time you witnessed someone lose their temper. Did they look strong or did they look shaken? Did they gain respect or did they lose it? Anger is loud. Respect is quiet. And the man who stays calm when the room goes cold, he is the one who leaves with his dignity. He does not need to dominate others to affirm his worth. His worth is rooted in discipline. This does not mean you never speak. It means you choose your moment. You wait for the heat to pass, then speak from strength, not emotion. And when you do that consistently, you start to live with authority, not just react with noise. You create a gap between stimulus and response. And in that space, wisdom has room to speak. So next time someone tries to provoke you, watch what happens when you do not take the bait. Let them throw their tantrum. Let them act small. You remain still, not out of fear, but out of purpose. You know what they do not. That the man who walks away with his peace is the man who holds the true power. That control is not about having the last word. It is about having the last peace. From today forward, stop trying to manage the room. Focus on managing yourself. Control your breath. Control your expression. Control your tone. Control your energy. And in every encounter you will walk away with something most men never find. Self-respect. Untouched, unbothered, unshaken, and that is a victory no one can steal. That is what it means to truly control yourself. And that is what it means to live stoic. 3. Build calm like a muscle. Through daily practice, you cannot expect calm to rise in the middle of chaos if you have never trained for it. That is the mistake most men make. They wait until they are provoked, until someone crosses a line, until the pressure is at its peak. And only then, when the storm is already overhead, do they try to summon control. But emotional discipline is not a parachute you pull in freefall. It is a foundation you build, one small choice at a time, in quiet moments when the world is not watching. Think of the man who walks into a gym and tries to lift a massive weight on day one. No training, no preparation, just brute will. He does not move the weight. He gets crushed by it. Why? Not because he is weak, but because he is untrained. Your emotions work the same way. If you never practice pausing, never learn to breathe through discomfort, never sit with the rising tension in your body without reacting, then the first time life throws something heavy at you, you will collapse under the weight. Not because you are broken, but because you are not ready. Now, imagine a different man. He has been practicing, not loudly, not publicly, but each day he sits with discomfort. He wakes early to reflect. He journals at night to process what went wrong and what went right. He slows his breath in moments of frustration. He resists the urge to snap back. He holds silence when sarcasm would be easier. He lifts these moments like weights, and each time he does, he becomes steadier. Picture him again. It has been a long day. He walks through the door, tired. His child accidentally spills juice across his open laptop. That familiar fire ignites in his chest. The instinct rises. But this time, something else steps in first. A pause, a breath, a whisper in his mind that says, "You've trained for this." So he says calmly, "Let's clean it up." That moment might seem small, but that is the rep that matters. That is the strength showing itself. And that rep, though it feels insignificant, is exactly what will anchor him when greater storms come. The Stoics never told us to retreat from life. Their philosophy was not written for monks in solitude. It was forged by emperors, soldiers, merchants, fathers, men surrounded by conflict, duty, pressure and noise. Men who could not escape the world, so they learned how to stand firm inside it. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire and still found time each night to reflect. He asked himself what had provoked him, what had tested him, and how he could respond better next time, not because he was fragile, but because he understood that strength without reflection is unstable. Epictetus, once a slave, taught that discipline begins not in the grand moments, but in the unseen control of thought and reaction. These men practiced calm like a skill, not a performance. And they did not wait for the world to test them. They tested themselves daily. This is the shift. You do not become stoic by accident. You become stoic by repetition, by showing up to yourself every day. Not waiting for chaos to knock, but walking out to meet it through your routines, your rituals, your quiet disciplines. That means you choose silence when you are tempted to correct someone. You close your eyes for 5 minutes in the morning to notice your thoughts. You write down what upset you and why, and ask what a better response would have been. You catch yourself when you begin to spiral and return to your breath. These are not small gestures, they are your emotional workouts. Every time you resist the pull of reaction, every time you train your attention, every time you choose presence over impulse, you are laying bricks in the foundation of an unshakable mind. And that kind of mind is not easily moved. It does not rise with flattery or fall with insult. It watches, it breathes, it acts with purpose. You will not wake up one morning immune to anger or irritation, but one day, if you commit, you will wake up and notice that the same things that used to break you no longer move you. That is the fruit of discipline. That is what it means to build calm like a muscle. Not waiting for serenity to descend upon you, but creating it inside yourself through action. So do not wait for the next crisis to test your strength. Begin testing yourself today. Wake up before the noise. Sit still even when your mind races. Speak last instead of first. Reflect instead of reacting. Because the man who prepares in silence becomes the man who is steady in the storm. He does not collapse when life gets loud. He remains still, he remains calm, and because of that, he remains in control. 4. Let go of what doesn't serve you. You began your day with clarity, a plan. Wake up early, get your workout in, crush your tasks, and move through the world with purpose. It felt solid, it felt controlled, but then the traffic backed up for miles. The client cancelled at the last minute. Your boss dropped a pile of extra work on your desk with no warning. Now your perfect structure is in pieces, and inside, frustration brews. The heat in your chest, the knot in your stomach, that sharp flicker of anger is not from what happened. It's from your resistance to what happened. You are not upset because life shifted. You are upset because you assumed it wouldn't. But life was never meant to follow your script. It does not owe you consistency. It doesn't check your calendar before throwing you off course. And the longer you grip the way things were supposed to go, the deeper your suffering grows. That suffering is not weakness. It is attachment. And the Stoics understood that attachment to outcomes is one of the greatest sources of human pain. Letting go is not surrender. It is wisdom. It is the clear-sighted strength to see what is within your reach and what is already drifting beyond it. It is knowing when to act and when to release. A man who needs everything to go his way to remain calm is a man who will always be at the mercy of the world. And the world does not slow down for anyone. The Stoics trained themselves not to waste their energy on traffic, disrespect, or inconvenience. They guarded that energy for what truly mattered, their own mindset, their own integrity, their own responses, because those were the only things that were ever truly theirs. So, when the day breaks apart, when someone interrupts your rhythm, when plans collapse without warning, do not meet it with immediate reaction. Step back. Ask yourself with brutal honesty, is this mine to control? And if the answer is no, you already have your answer. Let it pass, like weather, like wind, not because you are passive, but because you are principled. There is a common mistake in the minds of many men that real power is about domination, forcing the world to bend, pushing people to align, making everything fit into your vision. But that is not power. That is desperation in disguise. True power, Stoic power, is the ability to stay calm when nothing obeys you. It is the quiet discipline to respond with clarity when others lose themselves in chaos. It is the wisdom to adapt without losing your center. Picture this. You are in a parking lot. A stranger backs into your car. A dent, a shrug, no apology, no concern, and immediately your blood rises. You want to shout. You want him to feel what you feel. But then you pause. You step outside the moment and ask yourself, will my rage reverse the damage? Will my fury awaken empathy in a man who clearly lacks it? No, it will only drag you down with him. So instead, you handle it. The paperwork, the process. You speak clearly, you breathe deeply, and you drive away not just with a dented bumper, but with your dignity intact. That is not weakness, that is control. Not because you let him off easily, but because you refuse to let him take more than he already had. He got the medal, but he did not get your energy. He did not take your evening. He did not take your health. That is the win. That is the quiet Stoic victory. The Stoic does not cling to what is broken. He does not try to control what is already gone. He asks himself with calm and honesty, is this mine to hold? And if the answer is no, he releases it. Because clinging is not control. Releasing is. Because the man who can walk away from what does not serve him is the man who walks freely. So begin asking yourself more often, in every moment of tension, is this in my hands, or am I gripping at mist? Because peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the presence of perspective. And when you stop fighting every change, every insult, every twist in the road, you reclaim something stronger than control. You reclaim yourself. Let go, not because you are tired, but because you are clear. And once you know what is yours to carry and what is not, no storm can shake you. You walk through it calm, clear, unshaken. That is the Stoic way, and it is always within your reach. 5. See conflict as training, not threat. You cannot escape conflict. If you are breathing, building, engaging with people in any meaningful way, conflict will find you. Someone will question your words. Someone will test your patience. Someone will look you in the eye and challenge who you are. This is not a flaw in life. It is a feature. Yet most men respond to these moments with reactivity. They view conflict as a threat to their pride, as a battle that must be won. So they stiffen, raise their voice, escalate, and in doing so, they lose the very power they were trying to protect. What they miss is this: conflict is not an attack. It is a reflection. It shows you exactly where your ego still clings to control, where your discipline still falters, where your peace still depends on the approval of others. That is why the Stoics approached confrontation not with fear or anger, but with awareness. Every insult, every unfair remark, every confrontation was an opportunity, a rep in the gym of the soul, an exercise in mastering the only thing that ever mattered, themselves. Picture this. You are at the counter of a hardware store. You have been waiting patiently. The clerk is helping another customer. Suddenly, a man behind you steps forward, raises his voice, waves a receipt, and demands to be served first. The room shifts. People turn. Your heart starts to race. Your jaw tightens. You want to react, to defend your place, to reassert yourself. But you pause. You step back within. And you ask yourself one simple question. What is really at risk here? Is it my time, my ego, or my peace? That pause is where the power lives, because in that moment you realize something essential. You are not in danger. You are being given a chance to practice, a chance to lead, a chance to show yourself what you have built. And so, instead of exploding, you stay calm. You handle it. You hold your tone. You respond, if needed, not with force, but with focus. That is not surrender. That is precision. That is Stoic power in motion. Too many men confuse silence with submission. They believe that if they do not bark back, they are losing. But real loss happens when you let someone else drag you out of character. When you mirror their chaos instead of standing firm in your own clarity. The Stoic does not avoid confrontation. He simply refuses to let it decide who he becomes. He does not match smallness with smallness. He meets it with stillness. The man who reacts to every offense is predictable. The man who remains grounded is untouchable. He understands what Marcus Aurelius lived. As Emperor of Rome, Marcus faced betrayal, crisis, and constant attacks. Yet he wrote not of revenge, but of restraint. Not of domination, but of discipline. Because he knew that each moment of tension was a test. And to pass that test was to become something greater than victorious. It was to become unshakable. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember what is really happening. You are not being insulted. You are being invited. Invited to demonstrate your growth. Invited to stay true to your values. Invited to lead by example. Instead of reacting, pause. Instead of proving a point, protect your energy. Let their chaos bounce off your calm. Not for applause, not for appearance, but because you have trained too hard to let something so small bring you down. Respond with intention. Speak from stillness. And when it is over, walk away unchanged. That is not weakness. That is dominance in its highest form. It is the man who does not need to win every argument because he has already won himself. Every conflict is a mirror, and every mirror shows you what you still need to master. See it clearly. Use it wisely. And when the pressure comes again, as it always will, meet it not with force, but with finesse. You are not here to react. You are here to rise. And every time you do, you remind the world of something they forgot. That the strongest man in the room is not the one who shouts. It is the one who refuses to be moved. 6. Stay present. Escape the trap of imagination. It is not the moment that stirs your anger. It is the storm your mind creates around it. You are not enraged by what someone said. You are consumed by what you think they meant, what might come next, what you should have said, what it says about you. You are not reacting to the present. You are reacting to a future that does not exist, or a past that is already gone. And until you train yourself to stay in the moment, you will continue losing control in the only place where your power actually lives. Right here, right now, this is a trap few men talk about, but almost every man falls into. You are driving, someone cuts you off. 3 seconds of inconvenience, but instead of letting it pass, your mind ignites. You imagine confronting them, yelling, putting them in their place. You carry that tension into your next phone call, into your next meeting, all the way home to your dinner table. The moment is over, but your imagination has kept it alive, feeding it oxygen, keeping it burning. And this is how minor moments become massive burdens, because you do not release them when they happen. You carry them like anchors tied to your mood, your attention, and your peace. The Stoics saw through this illusion. They trained to meet each moment as it is, not as their minds projected it to be. They practiced stripping away assumption and ego until all that remained was the present moment and the power to choose how to meet it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He was not being dramatic. He was reminding himself that now is all we ever have. Not tomorrow, not later, now. Most of what makes you angry, anxious, or reactive is not real. It is imagined. It is the story you are telling yourself before anything even happens. It is a conversation you are having in your mind with someone who has not said a word. You walk into a room already tense. You meet someone already defensive, not because of them, because of the future you constructed in your head. That tension, that pressure, that tightness in your chest, it is not from reality. It is from rehearsing what has not yet occurred. So, what do? You return to breath, to sound, to sensation. You anchor yourself in now. You remind yourself that the future is fiction, the past is ash, and the only place you can act from is here. This is not spiritual fluff. This is tactical awareness. Presence is not about escape. It is about access. When your mind is still, you access your best judgment, your deepest composure, your calmest response. You do not need to sit in meditation for hours. You only need to notice. Notice the feeling of your feet on the ground, the sound in the room, the pace of your breath. Every time your thoughts pull you into the past or launch you into the future, you bring them back. That is training. That is strength. Every time you return to the moment, you are building a mind that cannot be shaken by imagination. The Stoics taught that an undisciplined mind is the source of most suffering. It creates problems where none exist. It escalates where peace was possible. It reacts to ghosts instead of responding to reality. But a mind trained in presence does not fall for illusions. It waits. It watches. It responds with clarity, not chaos. So the next time your thoughts begin to spin, pause. The next time you start replaying an old argument, stop. The next time you are about to walk into a room already braced for disrespect, breathe. Bring your mind back, because maybe the insult will come, maybe it will not. But either way, you will handle it far better from a grounded mind than a mind already racing. And this is where your calm lives. Not in controlling the world, not in fixing the past or predicting the future, but in staying rooted in what is real, right now. You cannot control what already happened. You cannot control what has not happened yet, but you can control your attention. And when you can own the moment, even for a few breaths, you become unshakable. You stop overreacting to stories. You stop reliving wounds. You stop preparing for battles that never come. You respond with clarity. You respond from power. You respond from presence. That is Stoicism in action, and that is freedom. Not freedom from life, but freedom within it. The kind of freedom no one can take from you because it lives inside you. And the moment you return to now, you return to that strength. Again and again, breath by breath, until calm becomes who you are. 7. Let go of resentment before it hardens you. Resentment is not just a poison of the mind. It is a weight the body carries, slowly, silently, relentlessly. You have seen it in men who look exhausted before the day begins, who seem tense even when they are still, who walk through life guarded even when no threat is present. That heaviness is not from labor or responsibility. It is from carrying things they should have set down long ago. Anger, blame, bitterness. And the longer it stays inside, the more it corrodes their strength from within. Most men do not even realize it is happening. They think silence is the same as healing. That because they stopped speaking about the betrayal, the offense, the wound, it no longer affects them. But silence is not peace, and what you refuse to face still finds a way to shape your posture, your tone, your choices. That grudge from 5 years ago still rides on your shoulders today. It leaks into your reactions, how quickly you snap, how guarded you become, how little joy reaches you, and that is why the Stoics did not treat forgiveness as some moral command. They saw it as a form of survival, not for them, but for you. To let go is not to excuse, it is to reclaim. Reclaim the energy that has been leaking from you every time you replay the memory. Reclaim the clarity that gets clouded by rehearsing what they did. Reclaim the peace you cannot access when your heart is weighed down by what no longer serves you. Epictetus said, "You may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus can get the better of my will." That is what it means to forgive. Not to pretend nothing happened, not to forget, but to refuse to remain imprisoned by something you cannot change, to stop being shackled from the inside. Think about the last time someone crossed the line. They lied, they humiliated you, they disappeared when you needed them most. And you said, "I'll never forget." Maybe you haven't. But what has that memory done for you? Each time it rises, your stomach tightens, your mood darkens, your trust shrinks. You relive what they did while they move on, free. That is not justice. That is self-inflicted harm. That is the trap, believing that holding on protects you when all it really does is weaken you. The Stoic does not wear anger like armor. He sees it for what it is, a flame that burns the one who holds it. So he lets it go, not because he is weak, but because he values his peace more than his pride. Forgiveness is not about opening your arms to those who hurt you. It is about closing the door on their power over you. It is not a door you open for them. It is a door you walk through into freedom. Imagine you are in the break room. A co-worker throws a slick comment your way. It is clearly a jab, calculated and sharp. You could respond, you could fire back, vent later, carry it with you through the rest of your day. You could let it circle in your head until midnight, or you could pause, you could breathe, you could smile, not because you accept disrespect, but because you refuse to carry what does not belong to you. You do not need to stoop to teach them a lesson. You walk away. And in that moment, you choose lightness over weight. That is not weakness. That is strength mastered. Forgiveness is not passive. It is powerful. It is knowing exactly where your energy belongs and refusing to waste it on anything beneath your growth. And when you begin to let go, really let go, you feel it. In your breath, in your posture, in your thoughts, in your sleep. You start to feel like yourself again, not the version of you wrapped in old battles, but the man you were meant to be before resentment took root. Letting go is not a gift to them, it is a gift to yourself. You are not erasing the past, you are refusing to carry it into the future. Because you have more life ahead than behind, and it deserves your full presence, your full strength. And that strength is only available to the man who travels light. So ask yourself honestly, what are you still holding that has long stopped serving you? And what would it feel like to finally put it down? Because the man who lets go of resentment walks taller, breathes deeper, speaks clearer. He moves through life untethered by what once held him back. And that is a man who lives free. You can be that man if you are ready to release the weight. If you are ready to choose peace over pride, let it go. not because they deserve it, but because you do. 8. Master the pause. Master yourself. It always happens faster than you expect. One offhand remark, one subtle shift in tone, one sentence that hits the wrong nerve, and before you even register what's happening, your body is already reacting. Your jaw tightens, your voice rises, your fists clench. Anger takes the wheel before your awareness even shows up. That is the trap so many men fall into. Living on autopilot, pushed around by outside triggers, pulled by inattention. And in that thin, fleeting space between what was said and what you do next, your power quietly slips away. But what if that space was not where you lose control, but where you take it back? What if, in that instant, before the fire spreads, you remembered who you are becoming, not who you have always been? That moment is everything. That is where Stoicism begins. In the pause, in the space between the event and the reaction, not in the argument, not in the insult. The real battlefield is the breath between impulse and intention, and that is where true mastery lives. Most people never notice that breath. Their emotions outrun their awareness. Their mouths move before their minds engage. But once you start seeing it, once you recognize that moment, you begin to understand how much power you have been handing away for free. You begin to realize that calm isn't something you find. It is something you practice. Imagine this. You are at home after a long day. Your teenage son rolls his eyes and throws a sarcastic comment your way. His tone cuts deep. The look in his eyes stings. Every instinct in you wants to snap, to raise your voice, to restore order. But something stops you. You pause. You breathe. And instead of erupting, you simply say, "I'll respond in a minute." That moment right there is power. Not silence born of fear, but restraint born of strength. You didn't react like the man you used to be. You responded like the man you are becoming. And that pause, that tiny moment, it changed everything. You broke a cycle that has repeated in homes for generations. You didn't continue it. You rewrote it. That is what most men never realize. They believe reacting fast shows strength, that the first to respond wins. But in reality, speed without clarity is chaos. What you gain in those 2 seconds is not weakness, it is wisdom. You give your mind the space to think, to aim, to choose. You move from reflex to resolve. Marcus Aurelius never said do not feel. He said do not act unless it serves the greater good. That kind of discipline doesn't require suppression. It requires timing. And that timing begins with stillness. We live in a culture that glorifies rapid reaction. Answer now. Defend now. Fire back now. But emotional strength is not about how quickly you respond. It is about how accurately you respond, saying the right thing at the right time, in the right tone. That is the difference between reaction and leadership. To do that, you must learn to stop, to breathe, to name what you are feeling before it becomes something you cannot take back. And no, it does not take years of meditation. It takes one choice, one commitment. In the moment when pressure builds, when your chest tightens and your mind wants to explode, you choose to pause. You tell yourself, I do not need to react yet. You walk away for a moment. You take 10 breaths. You ask yourself, what is the outcome I want to create here? Then, and only then, you speak. Then, and only then, you act. And when you act, it is not from ego. It is from intention, not from old habits, but from new clarity. The Stoic man is not unfeeling. He is not detached. He is deliberate. He feels deeply but acts only when the action is aligned with principle. He is not slow. He is steady. He is not numb. He is present. Because in that pause, he sees what others miss. He sees the ripple effect. He sees the long game. He sees the kind of man he is shaping in that very moment. So from now on, treat every surge of emotion as your training ground. When your face flushes, when your hands curl into fists, when your heart pounds, do not move, not yet. Let it come, let it rise, then let it settle. Because it is in that space, in that sacred pause, that you decide not what to feel, but who to become. You are not your first reaction. You are the choice that comes after it. And the more you practice the pause, the more you will find that you are no longer ruled by impulse, no longer owned by others' provocations, no longer at the mercy of chaos. You will begin to respond, not from fear, not from pride, but from power. The man who pauses commands. The man who waits sees clearly. And the man who responds with intention becomes the kind of man others cannot shake. That is your power. It lives in the pause. Learn to use it, and you will never be the same. Because the man who learns to pause doesn't just win arguments, he wins something far greater, his own mind. And that's a victory you can choose every single day. You are not a prisoner of emotion. You are not chained to anger or bitterness or the urge to react. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius lived it. Epictetus taught it. Calm is not given, it is earned. Self-control is not suppression, it is strength. And peace is not the absence of conflict, it is the presence of clarity. Today, you've seen that anger is a habit, and habits can be unlearned. That clarity is not born in the heat of the moment, but in the breath that comes before. That letting go is not weakness, but wisdom. That in every moment attention there is a window, a pause, where your character is forged. So start there, with the breath, with the pause, with the quiet choice to rise above. If this message hit home, leave a comment below with the words, "I choose calm." And if you're ready to keep walking this path of strength and stillness, hit subscribe. Because the next step on this journey is just ahead, and it's one you won't want to miss.